This is Real Race Talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Off we go. Another Monday of hashtag Real Race Talk. This is the Revved Up Sports Show. Deep in the heart of Texas. A little smooth jazz to bring us in tonight. Down south it is showtime. Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez up north. Brother Bobby, how you doing, man?
You know, not too terribly bad today, boss. Just another day of trying to live in this next COVID world, the way that it all works. And other than that, I would say not too terribly bad today. How about yourself? You in there hanging up in there at the worldwide headquarters up
man.
there?
Just doing the deal, man. I like this here. It's pretty cool, man. Good stuff right there. A little bit of jazz music. Yeah, everything good.
Whatever's royalty free, right? That's all.
Yeah. Absolutely right. We went out and we found somebody that was going to supply us music that wouldn't get our stuff shut down. So really good stuff right there. Really cool music there. So I like that. I like to mix it up a little bit and have some good stuff. Welcome in everybody that's checking in online at revvedupsportshow.com. And of course, remember, when you go to the website, there's different ways there. There's a banner up at the top that tells you that you can listen to live audio and video. So what you do is you go straight down under the banner or under the logo, and you've got the live audio feed right there. You can click on that, and it takes you right to it. Or if you go after the fact, it takes you to the last show. If it's like right now when we're live, you go right below that, and the live video is right there. So it's all right there. Of course, you just jump on Facebook and set a notification. Can't you do that? You set a notification when this goes live, right?
You get a notification every time we go live if you set up that particular thing on Facebook. So it's a nice way. I even have it set up myself.
Nice.
So when I go in and we stream everything live, and we get to check all the stuff that when you guys make the instant post there on Facebook, that's how come we say on Stop at the Comments is that even I get myself the notification of when we go live.
And you know that this show is live because we have technical glitches from time to time where stuff goes a little haywire, but fortunately, for the most part, we're able to keep it on track just as well as possible. But appreciate everyone checking in. Again, another great weekend, and coming up on the show, we will talk to. Actually, turned into a living legend show with Robert Barker, who's going to join us at 7. He wins an Outlaw Championship this weekend with the Texas Short Track Racing Series, and I was thinking about Robert, and when I saw that post go up, it's like, man, that dude is a living legend. He'd been around that long.
Been around as long as I can remember, racing down there at San Antonio Speedway with his brother, and he's pretty much always had the same color paint job for about the last 10, 15 years, that maroon color. So we'll talk to him about how he decided to stick with that maroon color. And more than likely, it's probably just to save money.
It's going to be interesting to talk with him because I was thinking about this last night. So Robert is actually one of the few guys that we've had on here that I have watched as a kid growing up, because he's just a tad bit older than me probably. Watched him as a kid growing up, raced with him, and am still watching him. So it's one of the few guys that's still doing that. So that'll be cool. And then 7:35, we talk to the freshly crowned Texas State champion there of the Texas NASCAR Texas Truck Series, the showstopper Jake Wright. And man, those guys, I said it on the mic on Saturday night. Those guys have been through hell. I mean, they have been through hell, and for them to win a title, man, that's super awesome.
Yeah, it seems like I didn't get a chance to go to the races in Houston this past week, but it seemed like everything went about as well as could be executed there on the final night of the season. But congrats to Jake Wright, and then we'll be a fun time talking to him, see if he's been able to relax a little bit since the last time we had him on the show.
I actually, so with Bruce Wright, he was walking back up through the thing, and I stuck a mic in his face, and he started speaking, and seriously, at one point, Bruce Wright was speechless. Can you imagine that?
I can't believe that would ever happen, Bruce Wright being speechless.
That was that was something else. That was something else to be seen right there. 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. I was actually telling the wife earlier. I'm kind of digging, 2 football games on Monday night. Of course, I would be Monday night and a Tuesday night would be okay. That was good last week too. So what do you think about that, man? I think things are going to drastically change coming through all of this when it comes to sports and television. All the TV ratings are down. I've got a graphic somewhere where the only sport that has had an increase in TV ratings through all this is the WNBA.
Well, the NASCAR stuff went up a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Well, actually, the trends, it's actually down, but it is down the least. It is like, man, I wish I had it right in front of me. I don't remember where I put it, but it's down like 0.5%. So it's pretty much flat. But I mean, NFL, MLB, I mean, everything is down. The one that's up is the WNBA. But I think the WNBA is up because it was so low in the first place. But regardless, I think that we do see a seismic shift with everything that as we are getting through this. I think we see a seismic shift. Bobby, did you see the breaking news today that Kyle Larson has been reinstated? Boy, funny how that worked out.
It's funny, as soon as we heard him talk about potentially being linked to Rise in the 14 and then Hendrick Motorsports, who knew a couple of weeks later that he would be apply for reinstatement and get reinstated by NASCAR effective January 1st. My guess is that they won't announce anything upcoming until probably towards the end of November would be my guess. But we'll have to wait and see. I think it's no shock that he got reinstated. So,
well, he jumped on the CBS this morning. There, I saw him with James Brown. I was talking about that on Saturday on the show there, where he went on, and it's kind of just the dominoes were falling in line there about the way the whole thing would work. Obviously, talking to James Brown about just the whole situation and everything that he's been through and what he's done, and I will applaud him for the fact that some of the stuff that they've talked about that he's done, he's not actually said it, but he hasn't talked about it. So, if you're in remorse and you're going to ask for forgiveness for whatever the case may be, I like that it's being done that way where other folks are figuring out what he's doing, and it's not so much him saying, look what I've done.
No, I think it's a good thing. I think he's finally, as we've talked about it before on the Saturday show and this show, he's definitely owned it, right? He's taken it and he's owned it, and he's trying to learn from it and build from it. And I think that's what it takes. I mean, the fact that, he's too much of a racer and too good of a racer to not be back behind the wheel of a cup car. I think that became an inevitable option, especially when he was just dominating back on dirt. He's got a long way to go before he gets back. You're going to see a little bit of backlash from whoever sponsors him.
Sure.
There's going to be a slight bit of backlash of saying, oh, you should have never picked him up or anything like that. We've seen that. But race fans have a tendency to forget the way that things actually end up working out. And so I think that would be a way of it won't take long. Like we've always said, winning makes things a lot easier. Once he starts winning races, nobody's going to remember and nobody's going to care.
Yeah, that'll definitely help the cause there for him. But, he needs to be back in there. And maybe this is something where, when we talk about declining TV ratings and declining fan ratings and with the changes that are happening in 2021 and so forth and so on, and it is a seismic shift that we're going to be seeing on the NASCAR circuit. Maybe that is something that maybe that'll pull some of the fans over because he did go back over, and he's busted his tail to get back. We will get to the short track talk here, but I don't know if this has any legs or not. But right before we went on the show, I just love that thing. I was kind of doing some messaging with there's a dude on Facebook and Instagram. His name is Holler Scott. Holler Scott. Look him up. He seems to be, he works in the industry. He's in the in NASCAR industry. Matter of fact, I believe he's the driver of the #1 hauler there for Monster Energy, Chip Ganassi Racing. But he posted something that there's a possible rumor when it comes to Kyle Larson, that Kyle Larson could become the driver of a second car for Michael Jordan Racing.
I don't see that one happening. Anything's possible in today's world of NASCAR, but if anything, he's going to end up in two places. He's either going to end up at SHR or he's going to end up at Hendrick, because those are the last two of the three pieces of the puzzle. I'm still not totally convinced that he's going to end up over at Hendrick Motorsports, just because you never know what to do with Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about what they're going to do with Chase Briscoe. I still Chase Briscoe is going to end up in that 32 car. If Kyle Larson signs with the 14, then you're going to see Chase Briscoe in that 32 car with Go Fast Racing. If you see Kyle Larson sign with Hendrick, then you're going to end up seeing Chase Briscoe in that 14.
Yeah. We'll see, but if he happens to be in a second car, there's not a charter. If he happens to be in a second car for RPM or Michael Jordan Racing, remember you heard it here first. But it sounds like Eric Jones heading to the 43, and that's, I saw somebody said, well, that's a career killer for him. I'm like, well, other than that, he's going to be in the Xfinity series. So, yeah, I'd love to see Eric Jones in one of the other top tier rides. I think that he's a great talent, but it's just all about timing, and it hasn't worked out the way it was intended. You can correlate the Logano situation in the 20. When Joey Logano went to the 20, it just didn't work out, and he found his legs there. Did you see A.J. Allmendinger? Did you see that he'll be full-time, apparently, in Xfinity next year?
Yeah, I guess he's going to end up running that full-time, that second car for Colleague Racing, which makes sense.
Sure.
It's a good car. It runs the full season. AJ obviously has a chance to sign and go for an Xfinity Series championship with as good as he is on the restrictor plate tracks, or the plate races, or super speedways, whatever we want to call them now. And obviously with the large number of road course races coming up in the season, it's obviously not so smart to not sign him. I mean, that's 10 out of 33 races there for the Xfinity Series. So definitely, I would say that A.J. Allmendinger is going to be one to beat come for the championship title there in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. So to the weekend, we did see the Heart to Heart 100 there that was scheduled. A little bit of a rain action happening there. So not possible there at, where was it? New Smyrna, I think.
New Smyrna.
Yeah. So they weren't able to get that in. We've got coming up, Greenville Pickens is coming up for the Cars Tour, and that's a $30,000 purse right there. You've got 4 guys that are locked in for that championship, being led by our man Jared Fryer. And that one there, that Saturday show looks like a little bit of maybe Cars Tour TV in the future.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, I think that's got all the chances to be a really, really good race there on Saturday with the Cars Tour. Obviously, the more challengers you have for a championship title there at the end of the night, that's definitely going to make it more fun for the fans and everybody in attendance there at Greenville Pickens.
Yeah. Don't forget our Promoter of the Year, I hate to say contest, Promoter of the Year, selection, whatever you want to call it. That continues to go on. Get messages over to us on the Revved Up Sports Show Messenger, or over to Race on Texas. And anything that we see goes to this group that's been put together, that's been empowered to try to hash this out and figure out who that's going to be. And there are several not contenders. I mean, there's several viable options for that. So continue that. That goes all the way up through the end of this month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, by the way. Rest in peace. We lost Lucian Wallace. That's just a great. That's a technical guy there, great driver, in and of itself, but just a great technical guy there, and just sharp as a tool, and just a magician. Lucian Wallace. And then we find out late in the week that we lose Wild Bill White, and it's a double doozy right there, man. The hits keep coming in 2020.
Yeah, the hits keep coming in 2020. Lost two icons of local racing there in Texas, between Central Texas and then with actually, I guess, with all Texas, with Bill White and with Lucian Wallace. So thoughts and prayers to the Whites and the Wallaces and everybody trying to move on for that next phase in life. When you try to go without the ones you love, that's a challenging scenario for anybody.
Yeah, very, very tough there for them. And obviously, like you said there, Bobby, echoing that, thoughts and prayers there to those families, and they will race on. They will race on. Absolutely. That's some great racing families right there. It was really nice. Got to see Greg Davidson on Saturday night, and we've talked about Greg on here, and thoughts and prayers and everything that we've been thinking about for Greg, and he was actually there. Didn't get a whole lot of discussion with him, but just Mr. Davidson, you got to figure out, even after all of that, he finds a way to get to the racetrack on Saturday and Friday night.
Imagine that, right? He was watching Chris race his car, so I think he was there more along the lines to find out whether or not Chris was going to mess up that car. That's probably what he was checking out, because that car is his baby. So not a shock to see him there at the races there on Saturday night and Friday night. So best of luck to Greg on his recovery as he gets ready to go. Also, another one of those guys going through that next chapter in their lives, trying to get their stuff back in order.
And no offense to Chris, he did mess it up. But just one of those things. I mean, they're having an issue there with rear ends on that car. So for the second straight time, they have an issue there, not able to get into the main event. But he was one of the top 3 quickest, possibly the quickest, if I'm not mistaken. But he doesn't get to make that. But would really like to see Chris get out there and wheel that thing. That would have been cool. South Texas Speedway, they finish off their night, Tecate Night of Champions there. In the E-Mods, it's Gilbert Perez III. He wins his 2nd straight championship, I believe. In the Bombers, John Wayne Wilson is your champion. In the Factory Stocks, Joey Heineman wins the race. John Wayne Wilson won the race, and I believe the championship as well. I'm not exactly sure. In the limited modifieds, Lawrence Mikulacek winning in Corpus Christi. How about that?
There's a shocker, huh? How about that?
Right. Johnny Torres manages to win the championship there even after, speaking of breaking rear ends, he breaks a rear end in his 66 and jumps in the 90 car. And so Texas Sweet Tea, as you call him, he doubles up also championships at 2 different tracks.
Well, I love the checks that they handed out. The one that Johnny Torres was holding in Victory Lane when they took the championship photo. So props to Dustin Butcher for letting Johnny race that car. They were looking at putting the rear end in, and then I think they just said it was easier to just let Johnny race Dustin's car.
Yeah.
But I think part of the check that he was holding said for the dollar amount on the check, it said priceless for the track championship.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good touch there from Stevie and the gang down there at South Texas Speedway.
Yeah. And in that factory stock, Joshua Sewell wins the championship there. So he as well. So he and Johnny, they sweep 37 and South Texas, just as Triton Temple had done. So seeing a little bit of a trend right there. And congratulations, Stevie. Great season there. Future of that facility unknown, but I've heard some doozies. So we'll see which one of them may come to pass, but that's to be determined. It's going to be an interesting offseason.
Yeah, Johnny Torres is going to be a promoter again. That's the rumor we always hear. One of these days it's going to come true with Johnny Torres taking over the promotion of a racetrack.
Another guy I know may be an extremely busy race promoter in 2021. We'll just leave it at that for now. Cotton Bowl Speedway, they run their Oktoberfest there as they get after it in the streets. Wade White, the winner there. I heard there was a little bit of a questionable issue there at the end of that one, but Wade White, your winner there. Dalton Faulkner in the Sport Compacts. Dylan Kowalik. Chris Morris in the Modifieds. They had 20 Modifieds, man. That's good. I bet that was something cool to see.
I bet that was a great show. It's always a good show with the big modifieds running there at the high banks and the high-speed track at Cotton Bowl Speedway. You got to get out there. We always talk about getting to your local dirt track and everything else, but if you've never been to Cotton Bowl Speedway, it's one of the finest facilities, dirt track or pavement, in the country. It is really a gem that we need to appreciate how well that track is. Granted, it is in the middle of nowhere, but it's a great drive and it's an awesome facility. So Marianne and H have done an outstanding job, as well as the other promoters there for this 2020 season. So I think they can finally take a step back and take a collective deep breath and realize that this challenging season is officially over.
And I think one of the things that Cotton Bowl did really well was they figured out, H.E. and Daniel Stewart there, they really got a grip on, because, one of the things, people are going to complain about everything, but one of the things that folks had always complained about was track prep. And I know there were several times that I was there this season, and I would talk to drivers and whoever it may be, and they were talking about, man, what a great track. Sorry, Chad, if I said Dalton Faulkner in a factory stock, I meant or in a sport compact, I meant factory stock. Great job that they did with that. Super smooth place. And the beauty of that one, like you said, Bobby, high banked and wide. Man, when you talk about wide, that son of a gun, you can lay a bunch of them across that track.
Yeah, there's no problem to go 3, sometimes 4 wide. I've actually called a race where they went 5 wide out of turn number 2 going down the backstretch there. But Cotton Bowl, great facility. All of our facilities are really nice. Even a place as simple as Edna, and I say simple in a good solid way, because you got your place for the lawn chairs, you got your grandstands up there. It's a way to enjoy the races in a unique, different path. But that track is so unique. It's so big, so flat. and it's just a cool little track. If you hadn't had a chance to get out to Edna, obviously you'll get an opportunity, hopefully, to go back. Owen's supposed to be doing that in 2021 as well, so we'll see how that shakes out. So we'll definitely keep our eye on all of the racing action and the news here as we come up on the off season here in Texas racing.
And they actually have one more at Edna before the end of the year, the weekend before Thanksgiving. I think it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or maybe a Friday, Saturday show. I don't exactly remember, but it's called a Clash, and I think that one is a 3,500 to win factory stock race where you actually it could be 4,500 to win. If some pieces fall in place. So that's going to be a big one there because they have not lacked for factory stock. I mean, for anything at Edna, and really that place is just a great. It's a great homey feel to it. To me, it really does. I've probably said this on here before. It feels like Longhorn, and it feels like CC Speedway and Pan American probably back in the days. It really does have that good old. I love how they promote it. It's your favorite small town racetrack, and that's a good thing. It's probably a good thing that it's out there in a small town, and it's a great little joint. I love that place.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome place. I haven't actually been there in a couple of years, but every time I've been there, I've been to 4 or 5 races there over the course of over the years. Every time I've been there, it's just been an outstanding race, and they used to run the Outlaw Modifieds down there and the big mods, and they put on a great show. And I've seen a couple of USMTS races there over the years, and it's just a great little short track, as you said. It just you don't think so when you first pull up to it. You're like, man, this is just in the middle of a cow pasture. But man, Owen's got that prep down, and those races are so good. That track has got multiple grooves, and it's a great little facility to go and watch racing. You gotta book your room in advance because the 1 or 2 hotels they got down there they fill up pretty quickly. But if you want to go down for a good old fashioned short track Saturday night race, that last race coming up in November is probably going to be one of the ones you got to put on the calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I've told him, but I'm penciling in on a Saturday for that one because I think that's going to be a good one. But really good stuff there. Also in the sport mods, it is Brandon Guerin winning there. Papa George Egbert wins in the iStock. So good night of action out there. And it looked like they had plenty of cars. Looked like plenty of cars at South Texas. We'll have an event coming up, I guess, this weekend over at I-37. So slowly starting to finish everything off, and it's been a tumultuous season with just everything that we've all gone through, and we've seen businesses suffer, and it's been tough on these racetracks, but somehow they've persevered. And I was telling the folks in Houston the other night, it's because of the race fans. It's a situation. It's a slippery slope where, do people want to go to the racetrack? And I tell you one thing, maybe it's just the race fan mentality when it comes to local racing, but fans don't seem to be worried about going to the racetrack. It's outdoors. I've had a lot of folks that have messaged me when I put racetrack pictures up, and they're like, hey, boy, that's a lot of people. But, as far as I know, everything has been okay.
It's not like the people up in attendance there. Did you see the pictures from the crowd there at Ennis for the
Yeah.
NHRA races up there?
Yeah.
Man, they are cheek to cheek up there at that place. Not a mask in sight, but that you got to admit it though. That's a hell of a crowd there for the NHRA there at Ennis at Texas Motorplex. Looks like they're going to try to do the same thing down in Houston this upcoming weekend. So they're going to run Texas back to back. I look forward to seeing that there with the NHRA as they finally get a chance to close out their season.
Yeah. Good stuff coming up in Houston. Steve Torrance was just a tad bit fired up there, wasn't he? I bet they're still, when they've only got to go to Houston next, leaving there from Ennis, I bet Steve Torrance and them probably still having a party today.
I bet they are. That was one of those where it's, he had all the good reasons to party. They're from Texas.
Yep.
And so they get an opportunity to win in the home state any chance they get. Obviously, no different than the party at the Holiday Inn with our buddy Bruce Wright and everybody. How was that, by the way? I didn't get a chance to ask you that on the text. How was the party at the Holiday Inn Championship Edition?
Massive. Hell, even Don Armstrong showed up for that one.
Oh, wow. Everybody was there.
So get this. Don Armstrong shows up, and for those of you who don't know who that is, Don Armstrong is the guy that's out in the infield that does the winners interviews over there. He's always in the green shirt, light lime green shirt. Don Armstrong shows up there. That dude shows up with three women from Louisiana.
Man.
And him.
Must have been that Corvette he drives. He's got a pretty slick looking Corvette.
something. He comes rolling up, and I'm like, he says, "This is my girlfriend." There was one, and I'm like, well, "Who are they?" He said, "Oh, they're with me too." Damn TV guys! I'll tell you, man. It was in full
TV
force.
guys get all the loving, don't they?
Yeah, they do because they're good looking, I guess. But I mean, you had Gina and Bo showed up. I mean, it was massive. I mean, it was going. I had to check out at some point. One of the girls came home from college, and I hadn't heard from Tracy, and Tracy called me, and I don't know what time it was, and I was like getting in bed, and she said, "Oh, why'd you answer? I didn't figure I'd hear from you tonight." But I checked out. I had to check out. It was one of those.
Well, that's probably like 8 o'clock in the morning when she was calling you and figured that you wouldn't pick up. So that was
no, it was much earlier. So no, I gave up. I think the mistake that I'm starting to make when I go to these after the party things is at the Holiday Inn. I stop at that store right there on North Lake Houston. That one store that's on there, and their beer selection is weird. So I always end up buying a 20-pack of those tall Bud Lights. And man, you start drinking those in excess once you're parked and stopped and being responsible, like the young kid told me at the last race. Man, they go down swift and they kick you right in the ass quicker than 12 ounces.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've actually partaked in a couple of those at the last Holiday Inn party, so it sounds like a good time. There's sometimes that you have to miss races for other reasons, and so unfortunately, I had to miss that race in Houston, but. All in all, though, it seemed like it was a great show and a great crowd, and obviously the party at the Holiday Inn is always rocking and rolling. And at some point we'll probably have to say if you're going to party at the Holiday Inn, you need to go ahead and get a room for the Holiday Inn.
I checked.
Most people that do, I guess most people that are at the parking lot party actually have a room there at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, and they got smart because when I checked in, they said, the guy tells me, he said, "Oh, I'm new. They told me that when you people come in, that we need to put y'all in a block in the back." Because I was room 191, and I know Shane Turner was 185, so I think everybody's blocked to the back. And the guy said, because they said that y'all like to maybe party and come in the back door, so they finally wised up. Because I know there's been a couple of times where they put me like in 111, and I'm staggering through that front door, and it's not good. But anyway, this is not the time to talk about over drinking. But I think they finally figured that part out. And our man before we get Robert Barker on, so Grant Thompson and his family show up, and he wins the first race. Cool. Did you happen to see that? He jumps out of that truck, cowboy hat on, as he comes out of the truck. I mean, the dude was ready. So they come pulling up in the parking lot. And they've got their big old rig to pull in there, and John tells me, "Boy, a little full out here." I said, "Oh, you just wait. They got there early." So yeah, good to see those folks.
Yeah, Grant had a good run on at least the first feature anyway. But yeah, I saw that picture of the cowboy hat. It's getting a lot of attention on social media. So it seemed like Grant had a good run, and more importantly, had a good time when he drove all the way here for his first NASCAR race here in the Lone Star State.
Yeah, he absolutely loved it, and Grant was out there walking around the parking lot party too. I mean, he's just kind of walking around. I think he was just trying to soak it all in. He's like, what in the hell is going on here? Is pretty much what his face looked like. But great folks right there. Good to see them come in. We had Colt James. I mean, it was a good bunch. But yes, once again, a good time at the parking lot. And congratulations to Cotton Bowl for getting their race in South Texas, and good luck to 37. I mean, somehow we've chugged this thing to the finish line and been able to get this done.
Yeah, no, it's pretty great. Obviously, some of the comments about the party there at the parking lot party got Todd saying he checked out at 3 a.m. and the party was still hot and heavy. And then Bruce always, I did notice the last time I was out there for the parking lot party is that they brought us trash cans. Yeah. That's how you know they're starting to get prepared, is when they start bringing out the trash cans. They had about 4 or 5 for each one of the groups that were out there, and slowly but surely the groups end up merging into one big group. So it's a fun time. It's a lot of fun to have at the Holiday Inn there with the parking lot parties at the end of the Houston races. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Couple of folks that I do want to mention, Bob and Connie Clark, Whoop. They donated $100. Dale donated $100. And then the Billy Wade family, they donated $400 to the Boobs Rock 2020 thing there. So all of that going to breast cancer awareness, and good folks right there. They did a really nice thing. Just did that. Just wanted to donate to that cause, and I thought that was super nice of those great folks. Yeah, no, Whoop and Bonnie, they actually are more involved, I think, sometimes than people don't give them credit for sometimes. But they have been, Whoop's been around for I don't know how long, probably longer than I've been alive, enjoying races in the greater Houston area. So, I know that Bonnie's had some health issues, so locally it looks like she's pulling through some of those, which is, thankful that she's pulling through all that. But that's a good group of people right there. That's if you want a story or two about the good old days of racing from back in the day, Whoops be one to ask because he's got a lot of good racing stories. That's for sure.
Yeah, he will definitely tell you all about him. All about him. Let's jump over to the hotline. So this winds up being a championship Monday edition. And first of all, we're going to bring up a guy. And Robert, I don't know if you realize this, but I was saying earlier on the show, you're a guy that as a kid I watched you race. You're not that much older than I am. You were racing at a very young age. I've raced with you, I think, a time or two, and hell, you're still racing. It's 2020 NASCAR Texas Short Track Racing Series Outlaw Champion, Mr. Robert Barker. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Just chilling out here, waiting for this interview.
So please, when you say it like that, please tell us you're not nervous about this.
Always a little nervous to do interviews.
We always tell
you never know what's going to come out of my mouth.
Well, then that's totally good. But we always tell people because folks are like, "Oh my God, what are you going to ask?" I'm like, "We'll never ask you anything that you don't know." So I think you're going to be fine.
Awesome.
All right, sorry, Bobby. Go ahead, man.
No, you guys got it. So, Robert, as obviously we're here to celebrate your championship in Houston for 2020, but as Rodney says, he's watched you race for a long time. I have too, as long as I remember going back to San Antonio Speedway back in probably the late 80s, early 90s. You've always been racing. So let's talk about your backstory before we start talking about the accomplishments here in 2020. I know your brother raced. I think your dad raced. Talk about your racing family and how you got into it.
Well, we actually got started. My dad was an auto mechanic, and one of the guys that worked with him was racing there, and his name was Doug Forrest.
Yep.
And so, he got us into it, and my dad started racing there a little bit, and then my brother was almost the age to start racing, and so my dad did do it for a little bit, and then my brother kind of took over the seat. And really, when I was younger, I didn't really have the desire to race, and when I started getting a little older and maybe around 16, 17, just started watching my brother and everything, I kind of started to like it and got into it shortly after he did. And so, we both started down at the lower level class, which I recommend for anybody coming in. It's just to start at the lower level so you can work your way up, because you can learn a lot more and a lot faster that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish people would take that to heart to do that. So the other part that I left out of there, Robert, and again, I know the age difference between you and I is not that great, I don't think. But I mean, you were racing with my dad. So this was back, in the late 80s, early 90s. Talk about those days in that street stock, super street stock, whatever it was, man. You guys would pile 25 to 30 cars out there, and you had some good hitters out there, and that was some damn good racing.
It was the awesome times back then. The first class, it was called Charger cars when I started racing, and that was in 1990. And we would have 26, 28 cars sometimes, and they would invert us by point average. And so if you were doing pretty good in the points, you were starting at the back, and so we did that a lot. Get to drive up through the field and to win a race was pretty awesome, so that's the way we learned to race. And San Antonio too was also a great racetrack to pass on. So, you could kind of wait for somebody to slip up a little bit and get by them, a little easier than some of these smaller tracks, but they're always fun to race on any racetrack. Just, it's always entertaining for the fans and a lot of fun trying to make it around the racetrack. Get the right combination of when to turn and when to brake and when to use the gas. It's always fun.
Absolutely.
What's funny is we talk to people that race at San Antonio Speedway and have won championships and won races down there. The craziest thing about it is that nobody describes how to race their car the exact same way. Some people say go into the seat pinches, and then some people say let off early and roll it through the corners. You were describing it a different way. I mean, what is it about that high banks of San Antonio? I mean, is there such a thing where people could drive all different kind of ways, more so than they can now at, say, Houston and back in the day at Thunder Hill?
I think so. I mean, I didn't use any brakes in San Antonio a lot of times, and unless there was somebody in front of you, I didn't really have to slow down the car much, and just get a good run into the center, and let the car roll and get back to the gas pretty heavy. And a lot of people like to drive in a little deeper and use a lot more brake, and kind of affects the way you have to set the car up. So there's definitely more than one way to get around the racetrack, and there's several different setup packages that work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And with that, so as that's going, Robert, I mean, you just, you start out there, you just keep progressing, and then, like I said, the super street stocks and limited late model, whatever you want to call those cars, and then late models, NASCAR late models, all of that. I mean, it was just such a great run that you had there, and just always winning races, always consistent. What was it? There was something that Rick said the other night after you won. And Rick said, I wish Robert Barker would have had big dollars behind him when he started, because you'd be in much bigger places. But I mean, what was it that you guys did? Because you've always been good. You've always been really good.
Mm-hmm. I believe that was John Heil actually said that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, John Heil.
Winner Circle
That's
interview.
Right. That's right.
And that was pretty nice of him. I'm glad to have a little bit of support from my fellow racers and big guys like Rick. He owns a lot of stuff and helps a lot of people, and just real appreciative. I think probably for us, as my dad's mechanical background was pretty beneficial for us, and him having somebody that at work who had been doing it for a while and kind of give us some pointers on what to do for making it go through the turns. And we actually got lucky on a few things, just what my dad kind of guessed, what would work, and we did some pretty crazy things that maybe nobody else ever thought about trying. When we were racing the Charger cars, we were running really soft, what they call the soft, the big bar soft spring setup. We were doing that in the Charger cars because we didn't know we were doing it, but we just kind of lucked into it. We used these real soft, long springs. They were like a 400-pound Monza spring we put in the front of those things, and we were using the biggest stock sway bar there was, 1 1/4 inch bar. And so maybe we kind of lucked into some of that stuff. Street stocks was a different animal, that I kind of bought a car that wasn't the greatest one to start with there. It was a metric car, and I was racing all those Camaros, but somehow we got it done a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt.
So speaking of cars, Robert, let's talk. You talked about doing the best you can with what you got. Let's talk about this car you won the championship in. How old is that car, and how many races have you won in that thing, if you can count them all?
I don't keep count, to be honest with you, but that car raced in 1995, so it's really old. It's been through, it's been through a lot of different front clips, rear clips, you name it. It's been through a lot of changes over the years, and most recently converting from the super stock class to the outlaw class. That was a lot of upgrades and a lot of work to make it competitive. But one thing we didn't change is we still have leaf springs on the rear of it. So
that's crazy.
A lot of people have trouble believing that, but they're there. So, and they work. So it's pretty good to do well with something that doesn't cost a whole lot of money.
No doubt. No need to change it. I mean, if it's working, there's no need to change it. That's something else I think guys need to keep in perspective. So talk about, so after San Antonio goes away, and just tremendous success there. And, we got to run there a couple of other times, but I mean, at that point you're stuck. I mean, if you're going to race, you got to go to Kyle. And so jumping into that from the half mile, the transition from the speed plant to the little D-shaped oval there. How hard was that for you? I know a lot of San Antonio guys struggled with that transition, but you didn't.
I struggled a little bit. It took me a while to really figure that track out and get my first win there. But once the first win came, they started coming pretty regular.
Yep.
And it was real good. I mean, I had that, and back then that was a car I was driving for Danny Webb over there at Mission Racing, and that was a truck trailing arm car. So I usually have something a little bit different than everybody else apparently, but somehow we seem to get it to work.
That's awesome,
That's
man.
that's what makes it fun, is to have something a little bit different and try to compete with it, and try to compete with the guys who have the big dollars at the same time, because I didn't always have all the help I needed, and somehow just try to make it through, and didn't always have the 4 tires and everything like we have now. So, there's a lot of truth to what John said there. I don't know that I could ever had the funding to make it into NASCAR or anything, because you could have all the talent in the world, but if you don't bring the big bucks, you're not going to make it into NASCAR.
Yeah, that's the sad part. That is the sad part.
So, Robert, how different is it running Houston than running Kyle? I always enjoyed running Houston because I thought the backstretch led to better racing with the dog leg on the backstretch as you come off the hill in the back and go down into turn number 3. But how hard was it to transition in the faster cars? Obviously, I'm just running an eco stock, so what do I know about running fast laps around Houston? But how hard was it to transition from Houston or from Thunder Hill to Houston?
Well, I mean, when I first started, the TSRS was that traveling series. So,
Yep.
I mean, just transitioning to Kyle, it wasn't just a Kyle. It was going from the racing in San Antonio every week to doing some traveling. And so, Houston, I caught on to Houston pretty fast. I got my first win there pretty quick, and maybe that's because it was a traveling series. And I think maybe even being a truck trailing arm car is a little more forgiving with the setup, and maybe works a little bit more consistent than everything else, where you might take fewer changes to make your setup work. But I like Houston. I liked Kyle. I mean, I like racing everywhere. Wichita Falls was fun, and I got to race in Tucson one time, and now I got to race in Pensacola a couple years ago. That was a lot of fun. That's planning to go back there hopefully this year and take my own car and see how we can do.
Yeah, that's actually what I was just about to ask you. So I saw Joe out there shaking a car down that looked it had your number scheme on it and everything, but just an A behind it. So talk about that car. Is that a new car? Is that one you've had put away, or what's the story on that one? I'm assuming maybe that's going to be the traveling car.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. I bought that car maybe 6 months ago. John Heil acquired it. That's Bailey Curry's old Pro Late model. So, yeah, we got it and we converted it with the Outlaw body. And I mean, we really didn't make many changes to that car. We just put the body on it and the 8-inch tires, and we tried some of the new suspension upgrade stuff they're doing now on the rear of that thing. And we showed up and just to do a test run to see what it's going to do, trying to figure out which car to take to Pensacola right now. I guess either way we take it, one of them, it's going to be starting over fresh because I don't have a lot of experience there. So kind of leaning towards taking the new car over there.
Rob, if you go there and beat them with the car that you just won the championship in that raced in 1995, that would be so kick-ass. Oh, my goodness.
Are you trying to get me to take that one, Rodney?
Well, that one seems to run pretty good. That one seems to run pretty good.
It really does. I mean, it's not a question. It's certainly a possibility. I mean, we haven't quite made the discussion yet on which car to take. So
yeah,
I'm not sure yet. I was glad Joe drove it for me and had a decent finish out of the night. Give it a test run. We definitely found some problems with it that we're going to have to address before we race it again. So we'll have to see what the future brings on which car we're taking where.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it's nice to have two, so if I am able to do a little more East Coast racing, I can have one for here and one for over there. So
yes, sir.
Kind of excited about that. It's kind of hard to keep two cars going though. So we'll just have to see how it works out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's great to see, Robert, is that all the guys that I remember racing late models together in San Antonio, you, Joe, even Brandon Bentley once was driving your car. It seems like you guys were always such competitors that it's cool all these years later to see you guys racing each other's cars. I mean, how cool is that you've got such good friends in racing?
Yeah, it's really, really nice to be, kind of call all these guys teammates, and get in each other's cars and try to help each other out as much as we can. It just goes to show you, it probably that kind of stuff wasn't really going on back in the early days where maybe we were looking at racing for a living, but now I think we all realize that we're just all trying to have fun out there and have some fun races and put on a show for the fans and create some entertainment. So, I think the older you get, you start figuring a few of those things out. So we all get along pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I love that part of it too, you know, and like y'all always talk about the parking lot parties, you know, that's kind of up my alley too.
Yeah. I seem to recall seeing you there a time or 20, but that's what it's all about. So your thoughts? I mean, this outlaw. I like these outlaws. I mean, at first I was like, you know, when you get the super stock versus outlaw debate, I mean that's going to go on and on and on. The outlaw, I don't know the future of the super stocks. I was glad to see that there were, 10 or whatever there were the other night, but this outlaw division, man, I think this is really something that can stick here.
I sure hope the class grows. I mean, we struggled for cars most of the year. You know, we got a few more this last night, and I'm hoping it grows some more so they keep the class around. You know, they're the fastest cars in Houston. You know, so I mean the modifieds and the outlaws are roughly the same speed, but the outlaws are a little bit faster than the modifieds. But they have so much downforce. You know, that the tires get gripped so much earlier because of all the downforce on the tires. And the modifieds take a few more laps to get that heat in there to really bust off a good lap. So they're pretty similar time-wise, but the Outlaws definitely are the fastest class, and they're really a lot of fun to drive. I love the modifieds too. I've had opportunities to get modifieds for Rick, and I got to drive Ricky Moxley's car this year, and they're a lot of fun. It's a little bit different driving those because they're a little bit lighter, so you gotta really use a little more brake with those things because they don't have the downforce. So they create a little more speed down the straightaway, and you really got to slow them down to make that turn in the center. And then it's just a little bit different driving style, so kind of hard to hop back and forth. But I seem to do okay in those. It just takes a little more time to adapt.
Yeah.
But
so, Robert, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier when we were talking about racing in San Antonio about the inverts, where if you were the high point guy, you started in the back. They used to do that at Longhorn. They did it at Corpus and all of that. In today's world of racing, do you think that kind of scenario would work and make better drivers out of the younger kids? Or are we past that point to where it's going to be, you know, you may get a handful of inverts, either 4 or 6 spots? I mean, what's your view on that as somebody that's raced a long time?
Well, I guess my view would be, I mean, in a beginner class, I think it's probably okay to do that. I think the more you go up classes, the amount of competition is so much closer that if you start doing that, you know, you're really ruining opportunities for guys to win, you know. And I mean, I could see some inverting, and it kind of depends on how many laps you're going to run also. You know, if you're going to have a little short race and you invert half the field, you know, then you really just killed that guy's work for trying to go fast, you know, and you bust off a lap and then you got to start 4th or 5th or 6th or whatever the invert is. And you got, you know, all those cars qualified within a 10th of a second. I don't know how you're expecting to get back to the front, you know. And so I feel like in a beginner class, maybe it's okay, you know, to do some of that. I don't know about inverting the entire field like we used to, you know, but it does put on a more exciting show for the fans, and that's what it should be about. But at the same time, you know, the guys who work hard to go fast should be rewarded for it. So I don't know. I guess I have mixed feelings on that.
Yeah. I totally agree.
But I mean,
yeah. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
So what I wanted to ask you is just in all of your years, let's take the money part out. Let's get money out of the way. So from the time you've started until you win another championship in 2020, and it's a damn big deal that you win a championship in 2020. 2020 sucked, but
no doubt,
right? But so what? What's the biggest change besides how damn expensive it is? I mean, what the drastic change when you sit here and think about it, man, when we started, my dad, my brother, and I, to now, what's different when you think about it?
I think the amount of time it takes, for one. I mean, not racing every week helps, but the traveling is really, really hard. You When you had a racetrack an hour away, you could do that one night, no problem. But man, the traveling now with only one track left is really really hard on us. When you got to take 2 days out of your weekend, or 3 days really. You got to go Friday, and then you got to stay in the hotel 2 nights and come home Sunday, and that's pretty difficult. But I don't know that there's the biggest changes is really in technology with shocks and stuff. They're so much different than what we used to use. Everybody pretty much had some basic setup stuff back in the day, and now if you don't have the latest greatest stuff, it's going to be really hard to compete. That's the main thing, is the shock packages that we use now.
Yeah, great point.
So how does that change the way that you race now, knowing that the shock packages are so expensive now? I mean, is it one of those that's why you try to have the setup that you've had for all these years?
I would say the setup we run is really not much different than what we used to run long ago, as far as spring rates and stuff like that. We learned a little bit about caster and camber, change a few things over the years, and bump steer and all that kind of stuff kind of isn't near as critical now as it used to be, just because the shocks hold the front of the car down so much. Once it's traveled, it really doesn't do much traveling after it's already down. So I mean, we still do the bump steer and all that kind of thing, but it's not quite as critical as it used to be. If you set your toe when the car's on the ground, then it's going to pretty much stay right there. Then you got the Ackerman and that kind of stuff you got to work on a little bit, but I don't know. Every car is different too. You got to find the right package, for each different car. It's going to take something a little different, and maybe that's why we use a leaf spring car, is because they're pretty simplified compared to these other ones with all this different suspension. They got panhard bars, and then you got the adjustments are so much easier on all the corners. And then, I don't know, the leaf springs are definitely simplified, where you don't have so many adjustments, but
yeah,
that maybe take some of the fine tuning out also.
Yeah, that's true, man. These cars are weird, man. I've had a couple of them where I had to go out and bend them up a little bit to get them to run the way I liked them. So I mean, you just never know. So let me ask you quickly about your support system. I mean, your wife, a CPA. So obviously, there's times where she's, I can only imagine what her life is like. You're at the shop doing your thing, and your daughter, I mean, Megan is that girl right there. She gets after it. I tell you, that's one hell of a young whippersnapper you got right there.
Yeah, she got the racing bug, didn't she?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's for sure. She loves it, because she's really social, and she loves the people part of it, and she works hard, and I'm glad for that, and I'm glad she likes to be a part of it. I'm glad my wife supports it, and for so long, we've had all this support from our family and friends, and we've had enough help from sponsors, and I just been lucky to be racing this long, because I'm not a millionaire. I'm just a simple guy living a pretty simple life, very fortunate life, but nothing extravagant. But I just feel fortunate to still be able to race at this point in my life.
Man, and it's like you're like a fine wine, dude. You just keep getting better. I mean, just so good. I mean, you're just so good. You're smooth, and it's been a joy to watch you all this time. And so for you, what's the biggest? Obviously, you win the 2020 championship there with the Outlaws, but what's most satisfying of winning that championship for you here this year?
Well, championships they just don't come so often, and being an odd year, and being able to win 4 of the 7 races, and I don't know, it's just always satisfying to win a championship. I mean, I really don't have that many. You might think, he's won all these championships, but I really don't have that many, and there's a lot of seasons where I missed a race and it cost me the championship, and there's a lot of things that went on like that in the last 5-7 years, and so I mean, it is what it is. I'm just fortunate to be able to win the championship. I had really a lot of help this year. Rick Calero and Mike Calero, they both helped me out so much, and John with BMF Shocks. Those guys, they're instrumental in me being able to win races and being able to afford racing. And I certainly couldn't do it without them and my family support. Yeah. And then Gina, she's done so much to keep it going for us out there, and she works really hard, and with you, entertaining the fans, and it's just great, to be able to race. I don't know, it's just fun to win in a weird year, and just to have another championship under my belt. It's just awesome. It really hasn't even sunk in yet. Just happiness.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, one of the best parts for me as an old school guy is when you show up to the track, that car's on an open trailer, and you come rolling in, and then first or second or wherever you are, man. And 2020 champion, man. It's been a pleasure, not only this year, just the whole ride. I found when I interviewed you at that All-State, whatever, Winston West race that we had a while back at Kyle, I stumbled across that. I said, man, this guy's still winning. He's still winning, even from that point. That was good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Lots of fun over the years. Just still having fun at it, and so that's the main thing.
Yep.
Feel like more of an entertainer than anything now. Just trying to put on a show for the fans and try to keep racing alive.
Yep. Gotta have them. Rob, man, appreciate it, dude. Congratulations. At some point, we'll have to break open a cool one and celebrate. We may have the other night. I don't know. I can't remember. But we need to do it again.
I'm right there with you on that one.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man. Congratulations, and thanks for the years of service, man. It's been awesome.
All right, Rodney. Thank you, too.
You bet. Take care, buddy.
You'll have a good one.
All right.
All right, bye.
There he is, Robert Barker. And that was really when I thought about it, Bobby. I was thinking about it today as I was driving. I'm like, shit, he used to race with my dad. He's been around a while. He's been around a while because I remember when he started, when he and David, when they started, because I mean they came in and they were really good when they were racing street stocks with my dad. My dad would always say, "There's got to be something they're doing." And I guess he just told us what it was.
Yeah, the one thing I forgot to ask him was about the number. He's always been 17 as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
The one thing I forgot to ask him about is how he came up with the number. But
man, that's right.
We'll have to get him back on and try to find out. That was one of the questions. I had it down on my notes and then just totally forgot to ask him. But we'll see. I'm sure he'll clock on the Facebook line there.
Yeah.
And hopefully he'll let us know what the story behind the number is on the Facebook comments feeds.
Yeah, because he was always been 17, and then David was 71. I remember they were 17 and 71, and then David Edwards, who wound up in the Chargers with the Chevelle that maybe one of them had, he was 17 also. So there's got to be something there. Man, God dang it! I wish we'd have thought about that. That would have been interesting, but and that's
because David was number 91 when they went down to that big race in Corpus in '95. Because I think Joey Heineman was already 71. There with his 71.
Yeah. And there's another one, Joey Heineman. He's over here winning at in the what was that? What did I say? In the factory stocks, winning in factory stocks at South Texas. So these guys, I mean, you gotta love. Let's see here. My dad is checking in. He is not that old. I think he was 12 when he started racing with me. I don't know if he's quite that young, but it was pretty close. But they're just good people. And Bobby, you hit on something that I think is so cool, is that San Antonio bunch. I remember he is 48, so he's a year younger than I am, for crying out loud. So great. Show's over. We'll see y'all next week. But I remember with that San Antonio bunch, they were pretty competitive, and I think
they were damn competitive.
And I think at times they weren't the best of friends, but it's funny how when everything gets pulled, the rug gets pulled out from underneath you, how everybody comes together.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it in 2020 as a whole, right? With this whole everybody not taking racing for granted as it was. But I think that it's cool to see all the guys that you thought were bitter enemies, which they probably were back in the day. Everybody looked out for number one, but it's good to see all those guys. And we've experienced too. There's people that we had disagreements with back, years ago that now we have on the show and have some of the best times we've had on the show with some of these people.
And speaking of Stephanie, she'll have to chime in again. Hopefully she's still on. And this is, of course, only the stuff that I remember. But if I'm not mistaken, and she could probably verify this, I don't know how their romance started, but I think she was like Miss San Antonio Raceway or Speedway or River City Raceway, whatever it may have been. She'll have to tell us that. But
No.
I think that was the case. And that was way back. I mean, I don't mean that way back. That was several years ago. So
that is a time gone behind that we have not all forgotten about.
that's right. That's exactly right. But I mean, for an old school racer like Rob to win an Outlaw, that series championship in 2020, that's good. I mean, that's a good 2020 stamp, because Lord knows we need something good in 2020, and that's a good memory right there that we'll pull out of 2020.
Well, I think because of you mentioned it about the super stocks and the Outlaws, how they're so close yet they're so far apart, right? The average fan, and even just having them look in the pits, they look too much alike.
Yeah.
They'd have to find a way to differentiate them between the super stocks and the Outlaws. But the biggest thing is that you just don't appreciate how fast they are until you get to see them racing. I think because there's not as many cars and some of the races get a little bit strung out, that the cars don't get the respect that they deserve. The class doesn't get the respect it deserves because of the fact that sometimes the races get strung out. But if Houston finds a way to get 14 or 16 of those cars racing together, man, that could end up being the best class of the night, hands down, even better than the modifieds and the trucks have been.
I agree, and when you get when you get like John Heil, I mean they've got a new car there, and he jumps in, and he's been out there. I think it's. I was talking to Ricky Moxley the other day, or at the parking lot, and this was stuff that I can remember, and that's another guy we need to talk to on this show. But I mean, Ricky was talking about just how the people in Florida and along the Gulf Coast over there, that they do realize how imperative now that Texas is. And Bobby, you've talked about it so well, and you've said it eloquently in the past that Florida hadn't really returned the favor, because when things are a little thin there, Texas kind of was the one that stepped in there and helped them out. But it seems like now we're getting a little bit of a shift to where everybody's thinking, okay, we need to figure out ways, whether it be scheduling or whatever it may be, let's figure out a way to keep this thing going well for everyone. And Ricky was talking about in Florida, I mean, they're struggling as well. I mean, they're having trouble with car counts and everything, and Florida folks are noticing what's being done here, and they like it. So I think the future's bright for all of us.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Ricky, congrats to Ricky for running the whole season, right? Coming in from Florida and running the full season with us at H&P. So maybe next season he'll drag a few more with him, and we'll start having a really good, Gulf Coast battle there.
Yeah, I think so. So, championship night there, Robert Barker. Congratulations, just a great guy. I mean, I've loved that guy forever. He's just a good dude. Heading back over, another guy that we tremendously like that we've watched. So we've got here we go. Started dating Robert in '90 after his first year in the Charger class. She sold 50-50 for several years. There you go. Oh man, he's going to the dirt. Robert's going to the dirt this weekend. Nice. That's,
man,
how about that? Well, dang it. I was going to ask him if he ever thought about dirt, but that's okay. Bobby, I got to do it. So there you go. Robert Barker going to the dirt. But let's keep up this championship discussion. And one of our other guys here, we're talking about a little bit older guy there with Robert. Apparently not as old as I thought, because he's younger than I am. But this dude is certainly younger than both you and I, Bobby. 2020 NASCAR truck champion at Houston Motorsports Park, good friend of the show, showstopper Jake Ragg. Jake, how you, brother?
How are you boys doing tonight?
Man, we're excited. We're having a cool one for you.
Man, I'm having a cool one right now. I'm pretty excited myself.
Absolutely.
Well, there goes the first question I was going to ask you, Jake, is if you were still celebrating that championship, but it sounds like you definitely have not stopped partying since you won the title there on Saturday night.
Yeah, we've been celebrating a little bit. I'm not going to lie, but no, it's been one hell of a year. I can't thank all involved enough. I mean, I'm just soaking it all in. I've been on cloud nine these past few days. It's been something special. So yeah. pretty crazy.
And Jake, I had to go. I had it sitting over here on the desk. I wanted to wait until you came on, but I got my prop. I got my cap. Miss Ellie came over and stuck that on my head, and she's like, "Wear this." I said, She put it on my head and almost knocked me over, but that's okay. But so talk about the night, man. And I had it figured out that you were 12 points ahead coming to the first race. So you see Grant jump out. Were you in conservative mode at that point?
Yeah, first, talk about Grant. I just real right off the bat. That kid right there, he's got a future. That's a race car driver. He impressed me, that's for sure. But no, I pretty much was in conservative mode. Towards the end there, he had already had a real good advantage, so there was no point in me, just burning my tires up. So, and it was falling off anyway, so I was just saving what I could for the next race, and got a second. So no harm, no foul there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, Jake, that tells me that you've grown as a driver, because there's times back, if we would have interviewed you 4 or 5 years ago, you would have been like, I was going to burn that place down to try to catch him. I mean, how much do you feel like you've changed? Was it the birth of the little man that made you take a step back and slow down a little bit? Or is it just you've finally been racing long enough where you've learned over the years that sometimes flat out's not always the best speed you need to go?
Bobby, that's a real good question. I've been trying to figure that one out myself. I think it might be a little bit of both. The little man definitely made me more matured, stepped up to be more of a man, and just conquering kind of all odds here. But having good equipment definitely helps. Having a great team behind you definitely helps. And with all those together, I mean, yeah, I'm just like I've told y'all before, man. I'm truly blessed to where we're at, and 2020 NASCAR Pro Truck Champion. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like I said, I was talking earlier, and actually I got your dad speechless at one point as he was coming up off the racetrack, but. At what point did you realize, whether it be the end of last year or this year, that you guys were onto something? Because you definitely got stuff figured out, and you've just been unstoppable.
I would have to say last year, after we won our first race over there at Houston, and when we were competitive just right off the trailer. I mean, it's scary how little we do to the truck. I mean, it's just very little things.
Yeah.
And then right then and then I was like, we got something special here, boys. As long as we don't, mess the chassis up or anything like that, we're sitting on a gold mine, and 2020 is proving just that. So yeah. I knew we had a good piece, but it's stiff competition. God, that class is stout. There's no slouches there.
No,
that's for sure.
Nope.
I love it.
I think Rodney and Jake, I think the confidence started that night. You took the lead 3 wide down on the bottom on the flat. I think that's when you had this new swagger about you when you made that pass for 3 wide back I guess towards the end of last year. But talk about the season as a whole. Like, you started off as a firecracker. I mean, you win the first couple of races and you're on top of the world, and then all of a sudden it's like the mentality when you came on the show and talked to us that one time is that the championship became more important than winning all the races. I mean, so explain how your mindset changed from the beginning of the season, starting out like a firecracker, to towards the end where it started being more important to concentrate on the championship.
Well, it's just like I just said, the class is crazy competitive, and I'm not one to sit there and say that I'm going to win all these races. I'm not. I'm no Kyle Larson. Let me tell you that. Okay. So, I mean, I knew that, I was going to lose a couple races, but as long as I was, consistent with the finishes, and, I knew that it would work out in our favor, and, it's proven to do just that. So yeah, this whole season has just been, it's just been very, very consistent. I don't think we even finished outside of the top 3 this year. The worst finish in that truck has been it was a 4th, and that was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no.
I mean it's great how we're doing right now.
Yeah. So the second race starts, and they had to do the top 8 invert and so forth and so on. Man, there were guys leaning on each other. that wreck happens, and I see you going right at the door of that truck. What in the hell were you thinking at that moment? I don't know how you got that thing woed down.
Let me tell you something right now. I don't either. 05, this was right in front of me, and that's my teammate, and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. And I just slammed on the brakes with everything I had. Jesus, take the wheel. Let's see what happens, baby. he stopped it. So, yeah, it was pretty miraculous there. So I'm thankful that it didn't do anything. I didn't even touch him.
And see, that's what I was wondering, because as I saw it happening, so I get up and I start walking that way, calling it as it's happening, and I saw the 05 move, and I wasn't sure if it was where he stopped or if you hit him, and then you sat there, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? But then you just drove right off. Were you gathering your thoughts, or were you cleaning your seat, or what were you doing?
Partially the carburetor was also flooded, so I had to get that fixed out. But
yeah. Oh man, that was crazy.
I bet you sounded like a Snapple bottle trying to pop out of that seat, Jake, as tight as you were pinching that thing when that truck was spinning right in front of you.
Yeah, I was like, oh God, like I said, Jesus, take the wheel. I don't know what to do here. I'm just gonna go ahead and stop.
Worked out, man. That was super good. Good.
So, Jake, you mentioned your corporate teammate there with the 05 of Brandon Leonard through the association with Kruger Motorsports. Talk about the effect that Jake Kruger's had on your whole operation this year. It seems like he's got these trucks figured out. He helped Mason win that $10,000 show there in the middle part of the season, the Texas Truck Challenge, and obviously he's helped you a ton trying to get a hold of this championship. So talk about that gym over there, the hidden gem in racing over there with Jake Kruger.
Yeah, he's a genius, man. He's a short track genius, especially when it comes to like HMP. I mean, that guy knows his stuff. If you guys want to get fast, go to Jake Kruger, because he'll get you there. He will get you there, I promise. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, much respect to 05, Brandon Leonard, Mason Teague, all those guys. I mean, I grew up racing with both those guys, and we've always had that camaraderie with each other, and it just always was just fitting. So yeah, Jake is he's something else.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's a good dude. Let's talk about the guy that was hot on your heels. I mean, David Webster. David Webster told me at the Truck Challenge that you transformed his year because you made him get better. Talk about competing with that guy. That guy is just so steady and solid.
You're right. I kind of call him, the sleeper, because I mean you just never ever know where he's going to end up, and it's always good. It's like he's always digging, he's always eating. I love it, and he's clean. He's very clean. I can't thank him enough for how he drives, and just much respect for that team, because they know how to do it. Their intentions are never to wreck anybody or drive dirty. It's always just very clean, and he's just a great dude. So much respect to David Webster and everything they've done this year. It's not unnoticed by any means. That's for sure.
All right, Jake. So we know that we can stop asking you the questions about the championship, because you can check that off the list in terms of stuff that you wanted to accomplish in 2020. So now we got to ask you, what's next? Are you going to the Derby? Are you going to just take the winter time off and rebuild the truck? What's next for you in this Jake Ride Motorsports crew?
We're going to the Derby. We will we will see y'all at the Derby. That's for sure. we're going to go test. I think sometime in November. Not really sure the exact day yet, but we are definitely planning on making that show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I think you guys have a tremendous chance. I really do. Speaking of Derby, I know you actually did get to Five Flags at one point this year. Let's talk about Greg Davidson. What an impact he's had on you.
Yeah, it tears me up just thinking about it. I mean, earlier this year, he took me under his wing, and took me out to Five Flags, took me to his shop, helped me work on his car, let me help him work on his car, and it was such an experience. And like I've said before, I've known him since I was 8 years old, and he's a fighter, and it didn't surprise me at all seeing him on Saturday. I mean, he's just same old crotchety man that he always is. It's awesome. I love it. I love it. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's truly a blessing seeing that man overcome all endeavors, and I just got a feeling he's ready to get back to that race car. We're gonna figure something out for him.
Oh yeah.
So I'll get with the boys and we'll figure it out.
Awesome.
All right, Jake. Let's talk about your old man for a minute. Let's see.
Okay.
So you know the weights that they have to put on the balloons to keep the balloons from floating off once they get to a certain height. Has there any been way to get your dad off of cloud nine after Saturday night? Because I wasn't able to go to the races and go to the parking lot party, but I've heard it was another epic showing. Has your dad been able to put his feet back on the ground after winning that championship with you on Saturday?
No, I can't see him anymore. He left about yesterday. He's probably somewhere in the stratosphere. I don't know where. Yeah, no, we're all excited, man. We're all excited.
Yeah.
It's this whole deal, this whole year. I just real quick, I want to go ahead and thank a few people that have made this year possible. Siddons Martin Emergency Group, Moore Law Firm, Robbie White Racing, Race Engines, Spring Carburetors, Buzzy Racing, Ernest Performance, Kruger Motorsports, of course, Travis Adams, Joey Cherry, Miss Ellie, Advanced Auto Parts, and Gina and the whole crew. Everybody that just made this whole year happen. I mean, I can't thank them all enough. So
yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate everything that all the effort that everybody put in. So it means a lot to me and my team.
Yeah. So
that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, man, it's been a joy to call it. So walk us through, let's say the last 10 laps of that communication with you. I mean, we'll leave out the cuss words. I'm sure there may have been one or two, but how did Bruce walk you through those last 10 laps, and what were your emotions as you're coming up to this?
We were kind of arguing with each other, to be honest with you. He was sitting there saying that you're the leader. I was like, no, I'm not. They're telling me you're the leader. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm clearly second, and 96 is right in front of me. And
yeah.
We were having that whole debacle, but finally we cleared it all away. But it was all good.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Love it. Love it.
All right,
yeah,
Jake.
no,
so let's. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no! I'm sorry. You go for it, bud.
Well, the question I was going to ask is we've talked about what's next and going to the Derby and all of that. So now that you won this title, I mean, do you want to stay in the trucks? Do you have any thoughts about trying to get into a modified or maybe a late model, or have you really found your home with this truck?
I mean, right now, we're just kind of up in the air still. We just don't really know. I think our plans are kind of just to stay in the trucks, but if other opportunities come up, then we might strike there. We're just still kind of up in the air, but we're probably just going to stay in the truck one more year and just kind of see how it goes. I think that's pretty much our plan.
Yeah. No doubt.
So give it one more try.
yeah, might as well. Hell, you're doing pretty well. So how satisfying? I mean, I know a lot of folks may think, it ain't that big a deal. But not only are you a track champion, you won the track championship, but I mean you're like a NASCAR champion. I mean, growing up in this, state champion. Hell, you're state champion. I mean, growing up through all of this and through quarter midgets and everything you guys have been through, how big of a damn deal is that for you?
I mean, I'm speechless. I don't even think it's sunk in yet. I don't know. It's a huge deal. It's a very, very big deal, and it's so hard to put into words as to how many years of hard work and dedication that it's taken this team to finally finally get to this point, because it's not been easy.
No.
It's not been easy by a long shot, and it's just to have a title like that is just it's more than rewarding. It's just a blessing, So I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Very happy.
So, Jake, I got one last question for you. I actually got to catch the tail end of the show on the Houston Motorsports Park YouTube NASCAR Houston channel, and I got to say, as good of a race as you had, that burnout there towards the end with you and John Heil, I don't know exactly what you were thinking, but you guys got pretty damn close. You tried to wipe yourself out just trying to celebrate.
Hey, but to be real honest with you, that was the first time I ever even tried to do a burn. I didn't win that much, so I never really took the time to try to learn it. So he was like, let's go down the strip. I was like, I mean, I'm going to try, but I don't know how good it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did, yeah. Almost wrecked him in the process. That would have been bad.
I think I said that on there because you guys are sitting there sliding. You're like going right at him. I'm like, oh my goodness. Seriously.
Yeah,
what?
Yep,
I'm like,
rear end kind of snapped around on me. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that.
So I have to, I got to tell you, I thought it was so cool. I saw, I mean, obviously, Rick Polero, I mean, that's been a heated competitor for you guys. But, man, I saw him go up to Bruce on the track and a big congratulations and all of that. And I talk about Rick, man. That dude, he's just so driven. He wants to win. And but when you pull all the layers off, and it's something we were talking about with Robert, man, we all do give a damn about each other.
No, absolutely, man. Rick's a good guy. We're all just trying to win, and that's just the name of the game. And he's a good guy, and he's raced us, very clean. He hasn't done us wrong or anything like that this year at all, or really even last year. I mean, we've always been just competitors, just racing each other. It's never really been any bad blood. So I've always respected Rick. It's just racing,
Yep.
It's just racing. And Robert Barker, that congratulations to that man. I love Robert. Robert's a cool dude. That whole team, that even the modified Max Calles, Ricky Moxley, all those guys, that whole team, John Heil, those guys, they work their butts off too. So
yeah.
It's the camaraderie. God, I can't even talk. Camaraderie around Houston is it's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it cool. Is the family. We're just all a big family, just doing what we love, and that's what it's all about.
Yep, absolutely. Well said, man. Well, little showstopper. We're damn proud of you, man. It truly
I appreciate it, Rodney.
Truly an honor for us to have gotten to watch you, and just you guys are badass, top notch, man. Top of the heap. Congratulations, dude.
Well, you guys are badass as well, man. I can't thank you both enough for what you guys do for Houston as well, man. You guys are the boys of Texas. Always have been, always will be. Doesn't matter if it's on asphalt or on dirt. You guys know how to put on a show, and I appreciate it because it brings fans, and that's important. So
absolutely,
thank you guys.
Much appreciated, my man. Much appreciated.
Yep.
We'll celebrate again soon. We'll celebrate again soon, buddy.
Yep, absolutely. We will. I'll see you at Snowball, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Take care, champ.
All right, man. You too.
You bet.
All right. Bye.
There he is. Jake Wright. Jake Wright, the champ. Isn't that awesome? I mean,
can you imagine the party that's going to happen at the Derby? Ooh.
I'll tell you what, there were so many. And
the trucks race early at the Derby, don't they? They race Thursday or Friday night, man. That could be ready for a long week.
And that thing is for the taking for them, because I truly think that they have gotten this thing figured out. And I think a good part of it is, I mean, that's just really good competition that these guys are racing against. And like what Jake was talking about right there, he's done a great job. He's done a great job of just maturing as a driver and really not making mistakes. And we really saw it on Saturday, race one. He was just on point, and he was satisfied to follow Grant Thompson. And then with that second race, when they do the invert, he starts 7th, Grant is 8th, and there's a huge melee. And seriously, he was this close to tearing that thing up, but he doesn't do it. And that's just where, 5 or 6 years ago, Jake would have not been able to do that. But it's just so exciting to see that happen to him.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen him progress from just an average entry level racer with a legacy car to finally being a championship level driver there, and so it's just cool to see, man. Like he's a good kid. That's a good team, and it's awesome to see the way they've progressed over the last couple of years. Like you said, that Derby truck race is going to has his name written on it. And as far as we know, a couple of Texans are going to try to head down there and try to bring back the hardware and the money back to the Lone Star State.
I think it'll be really, really good. As the great Jacqueline Drake checks in. Sorry she's late. Well, she was Monday Night Live was kind of a big deal tonight. Monday Night Live was a big deal. Talking to Matt DiBenedetto there, and congratulations to her as well. I mean, when we talk about Jake and all of these folks doing well, it's so, man, I'm proud of Jacqueline, man. She does such great work.
Yeah, I know she does good, and obviously, if you hadn't had a chance to catch her show, it's a good show. It's a great lead into our show. You can have a Motorsports Monday night by checking out her show that starts 6 o'clock our time, Texas time anyway, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. But it's a perfect lead into our show. So Jacqueline, she's been on the show a couple of times, big time supporter of the show. So always much success to her and her Monday Night Live racing post and racing show rather. And so yeah, good things to come here in 2020. Everybody's trying to stay really strong, and I think that's a good way to end in 2020. We still got a few more races to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And she'll be on duty at Greenville Pickens this weekend with that big Cars Tour finale that we were talking about a little bit earlier in the program. And yes, ma'am, there will be a big party at Pensacola. So be ready. Probably several days. That's going to be great. But just a great program tonight with, I mean, you've got a guy that, and like Robert said he hadn't won, as many championships maybe as we think. Well, he's won a few. He's won a few. And you see with both of the guys, Bobby, that we talked to tonight, we see the one word for both of those guys is perseverance, because Robert has just continued and continued and continued. And something that he touched on, because I remember he's told me this a few different times in the past, where he hasn't been able to run full seasons. And you think about, had he been able to, whether it be in or Texas Short Track Racing Series, Marianne Series, whatever it may have been, Super Street Stocks. I mean, there would be more championships because he just couldn't do it. And then you get Jake Wright and Bruce and Maselli and Mary. They've persevered, and I think that's something where you have guys, those two guys, win titles in 2020, and that's how you kind of bookend a shitty year with some really good stories at the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way that it goes. I mean, 2020 is, as everybody knows, has been basically a dumpster fire, for lack of a better terminology. But racing to me is especially in Houston. Obviously, it's the only track we've got, but racing has to me, is more unified here in Texas than what we've seen in a long time. I don't know if it's just because Houston's the only track we got left, or exactly what the reasoning is behind it, but it just seems like out of the blue that Houston, everybody's unified for the same goal. Everybody's down there to support Gina. Gina could tell them to jump off a cliff with her, and they'd all be jumping off the cliff with her. Yep. So that's the best thing that she's got going down there. And so it's just a cool scenario. We talked about the momentum at the end of last season, but despite the shitty year that 2020 has become, racing wise, I think that 2021 is posed to be probably one of the best rebound years, at least in terms of Texas asphalt racing, in a long, long time, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think, well, as a matter of fact, I know that there are some big things in store. I mean, so just stay tuned. I mean, stay tuned to this. Kind of one thing to finish off 2020 with Houston, and not to discount our dirt friends. I mean, I know this has been very heavily with asphalt stuff tonight, but our dirt, folks, I mean, we still got big shows coming up, and we're going to cover those. That's the beauty of it, where we have a big asphalt week, and then we can jump to next week. We'll be talking about 37, and we'll be previewing, we still got the Edna race. We've still got the memorial at South Texas. We've got plenty to talk about, and that's really the nice thing about what's happening. But if you didn't get a chance, if you were at the racetrack on Saturday, the 44 racing guys, there's a hood there with Teresa Rockface that ran in the Powder Puff race, which, by the way, what an ending to that one. Miss Gibson there and Miss Storr. That's how you end the race. They were at it. They were at it. But there was a hood there that's up for auction. If you go to the Texas Short Track Racing Series page, there's a link there where you can actually bid on that for that hood. And most of the money that's raised for that's going to breast cancer awareness. So if you feel inclined to jump into that, that'd be a really cool piece. We've got our hood here in the studio. So anyway, good stuff right there if you feel like doing that. But great program here, man. I enjoyed talking to those two studs. That was fun.
Yeah, Robert's been a long-time listener. It's good to get him on the show finally. He's one of those dedicated listeners, listens to his show all the time. So it's good to finally get Robert on to have a good talk. And he did reply onto the Facebook feed.
Yeah, I saw that.
That the reason that he has number 7 is that's the age that he was when he started racing.
Nice, and that makes sense. So I guess I was 18. Apparently. Man, I tell you, it's reality hits. You find out the things you find out on this program, especially even on a still active Legends edition of the Revved Up Sports Show. Good stuff tonight. Thanks to everyone for checking in. Bobby, this is fun, man. I enjoyed the hell out of this one.
Yeah, we enjoyed a lot of them, but this one was definitely fun, swapping stories tonight. So congratulations to all the 2020 champions there at NASCAR Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. And South Texas and Cotton Bowl. Good job this weekend, guys. Good job to keep the wheels on this thing and keep it rolling. Busy week. Keep checking in on socials. We will keep you updated with news and happenings and everything that's going on. You'll find it on social media.
Yep, it will. We try to keep on track of it, especially with the Larson watch, trying to figure out where he's going to go in 2021. Only a couple of spots left, so he's going to end up somewhere.
Hashtag Real Race Talk from Texas. For Bobby, I'm Rodney. Be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. Go Cowboys. Don't blow this one. We'll see you next week. It is the Revved Up Sports Show.